This podcast is sponsored by Tusk, a continuity of business solution for industries that struggle with traditional banking. Check them out on the web at tusk.network. The Rob McNealy program is the nexus of cryptocurrency, blockchain technology, and entrepreneurship. Now, welcome to the program. Today, I'm talking to Mark Jeffrey. He is the co-founder and CEO of Guardian Circle, a very interesting blockchain project that's in the emergency response space, I think is how I would define it. But I'd like to hear how Mark defines it. Mark, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me. You've got to.
Thanks for coming. All right. So I want to get into this because this is kind of I have a background as a former emergency responder myself. I was an EMT and a volunteer firefighter. So I'm really interested in what you're doing with Guardian Circle. So tell me a little bit, before we jump in here, tell me a little bit about yourself. How did you get into crypto?
Well, I'm an engineer by training. I got into crypto basically in 2011. I heard about it for the first time on a show called This Week in Startups that Jason Calacanis runs. And he had a guest on that was talking about Bitcoin. And I dismissed it initially because I was kind of like, that sounds like Flues, which was a thing in the 90s that was a virtual currency that never went anywhere. Then I heard about it again in 2013, and two guys, Brock Pierce and Michael Turpin, were talking about it pretty excitedly. And those are very different people. And because I respect both of them greatly, I started paying a lot more attention to it. And so as I dug into it, and I finally understood what I was seeing, and I realized it was very different from Flues, I got very excited. And so in 2013, I started writing a book called Bitcoin Explained Simply, because I felt no one had really nailed the explanation yet. So I did that, and rest is history. I just basically kept digging into it. And the more I dug into it, the more excited I got. And wrote a second book called The Case for Bitcoin, which is right around after Mt. Gox, when nobody believed that it was still going to go the distance. And then as I was working on Guardian Circle, the more I worked on the Guardian Circle project, which was not originally a crypto project, and the more I sort of did crypto as a hobby, the more I realized that one part was peanut butter, one part was jelly, and they really did fit together pretty nicely. So that's sort of the Cliff Notes version of how I got into crypto.
Well, you've been in it a lot longer than I have. But ultimate respect, you and I first met almost 2 years ago. It was at the North American Bitcoin conference down in Miami just about 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And, the fact that you and I are still talking and are still in the space and still have projects kind of going is kind of a miracle, looking at how many of the thousands of ICO projects that surfaced from that time. More than 90% of them are either dead or just walking zombies. So it's kind of good to see that you're still here, because I really liked what you were doing back then. I didn't quite understand it at the time, but things have changed a lot in crypto, and I've learned a lot since then. So talk a little bit about what Guardian Circle is. What are you doing?
So Guardian Circle, we call it a community emergency response network. And the basic idea is that friends, family, and neighbors can help one another in a crisis situation. So just sort of stepping back to a 10,000-foot view, 6 billion people on Earth have no 911. And of those, 4 billion are unbanked. In the United States, we do have 911, but it kind of sucks. When you call from a mobile device, they don't know where you are. Uber can find you more easily than 911, basically because the 911 system has pretty much not been updated since the 60s. 911 does not scale in mass emergencies, so things like earthquakes, hurricanes, the call centers are overloaded. They're effectively DDoS, right? Everyone's in trouble at once, so they can't get to everyone at one time. And finally, the 911 has no sense of multiple nearest helpers that are already near you and can help you fastest, because 911 just doesn't have that concept built into it. So we said, we should start over. What would we build today with mobile devices, with the cloud, with location sharing? We think the way the world should work is, no matter where you are on Earth, whenever you're in trouble, all you should have to do is press a button. The button sends your alert up to the cloud. The cloud looks down and sees what people and resources are already near you. It then activates, coordinates, and pushes all that help to you as quickly as possible. So think of it as like edge delivery of help, or a flash mob of help. And practically speaking, the way it works is you download our app, Guardian Circle, which we just released, Guardian Circle 3.0 anyway, the latest version of our app. You get your friends, family, neighbors to also download it and connect with them as guardians in the system. When you're in trouble, you open the app and press the button, or you can use one of a number of devices that are paired with your Guardian Circle account via our API. So things like push buttons, crash detection, there's a lot of things that can be the button. However, the alert is generated, your guardians get alerts on their phones, so their phones start blowing up. When they click through to answer your alert, they're all brought into a shared map and chat room. So the punchline is, in under 30 seconds, everybody knows where everybody else is, and everybody can talk to everybody, whether they knew each other beforehand or not. They probably all know you. They probably don't know one another. So your mother and your neighbor, they don't have each other's phone numbers. They probably never met. But when you're on the floor, in your apartment, and your neighbor's right there, getting those two people talking on your behalf, very important.
So is this cellular based or Wi-Fi based?
Both. So it's Wi-Fi based. It's data. So if you have data service of some sort, this will work. If you don't, then it won't. Then you're right, it won't work.
So is it audio or text messaging only, or is it still like, can you talk to people on the phone through the app, or how
text
is
messaging only? So it's a text chat room and a shared map. A future version will include streaming audio from the alert location. So we found that streaming from the alert location is valuable, but sort of crosstalk amongst the responders is probably not. That make sense?
That makes sense. So explain to me how blockchain figures in on all this. How are you leveraging blockchain technology in this app?
Yeah, a couple different ways. Sort of the simple way is there's a in-app Guard wallet. Guard is our token, by the way. That's our in-app currency. Right now, it's loosely tied to the app in the sense that there is an in-app Guard wallet. When you download the app, you get free Guard. So you get a little bit of Guard for downloading the app. It's used basically as loyalty points and a way for users to tip one another for emergency response. If you don't like crypto and you don't want to use the crypto in any fashion, you don't have to. You earn Guard crypto for every new person that you bring into the ecosystem. So you're basically rewarded for contributing to the network. You're also rewarded a little bit of Guard for every month that you guard someone. So if you guard 100 people, you earn 100 times whatever the number of Guard per month that you would get. On the back end, we actually use it a little bit more aggressively. If you're one of these device manufacturers, in order to get access to our API, you have to stake Guard to get an API key. So if you want to add 1 million devices to our alert grid, you have to stake 1 million Guard into a wallet somewhere. Give us the wallet address. We give you an API key that's tied to that wallet address. Same thing if you want to receive all alerts within a geography. So if you're Disneyland, if you're a hotel, a university, a corporation with a corporate campus, and you want to set up a perimeter within which you receive all Guardian Circle alerts, we'll give that to you. But that's another thing that you have to stake a Guard for. And then lastly, we do keep transcripts of all of the alerts. Those transcripts are currently stored centrally. In the near future, those will be stored on the blockchain, at which point transcripts of alerts in Guardian Circle will be immutable and tamper-proof, which means that corrupt officials cannot alter evidence. And to be fair, corrupt alerters cannot alter evidence either. So we don't have that quite yet, but that's coming very soon, next few months.
So what you've done is you're kind of creating almost like an incentivized Good Samaritan system.
We are. And I think, I think this is important in the United States, but I think it's most important in those regions of the earth where they don't have any sort of emergency response. So the 6 billion of the 7 billion of us that don't have it. And for those folks, roughly 4 billion of them are unbanked. So we think if we can parachute in this grassroots 911-like system, along with a way for people to tip one another, and people start equating Guard with safety, we think we can actually create an economy around this. And yes, it's Good Samaritanism, but you get rewarded for that Good Samaritanism. It's not purely altruistic. There should be some motivation. We hope that people help each other altruistically, of course, but we think it's in order to really make it work, I think there has to be some sort of economy driving it. So.
Well, I actually kind of agree and disagree. I think that, people need to be incentivized to be on alert. Now, I was a volunteer firefighter and a volunteer EMT in a very small town in a very, very remote part of Wyoming. And, the EMTs, which, we had to have someone, we had to make sure somebody was available 24/7, to take calls, right? And we were volunteers, but I think we got like $1 an hour or something so we could be scheduled. And now the firefighters didn't, but the EMTs did. And to me, you're not really getting paid what a paramedic would get paid, but it still incentivized people to make themselves available to be part of that network so that you did have that coverage. And I think that's one of the things that I'm finding, even running a blockchain company, or not a company, I'm sorry, project, because we're not a company, but even with our Tusk project, like for instance, everybody's a volunteer. No one's getting paid except in Tusk. And so because of that, it's harder, if you don't pay someone in fiat, even if everybody's excited about the mission. I do believe that, I think it's human nature that people need to be compensated in some way, or feel like they're being compensated in some way, even to do the right thing, if it's not directly in front of them.
Well, we definitely are agreeing then. That's what I believe as well.
So what blockchain are you using for this? Did you create your own blockchain, or what's your token? Is it on another blockchain, or did you create your own?
Yeah, so the Guard token is a NEO-based coin, so it's a Net5. So we're based on the NEO blockchain. A lot of people ask me why we did that, which is probably your next question. We chose NEO basically for two reasons. One, it's a third-generation coin, so it's scalable, unlike Ethereum, which is clogged by CryptoKitties and might be scalable someday, but at the moment still isn't.
It's not. It's why we became a blockchain and not a ETH token anymore. So I agree.
I like ETH, but it's mired down in the past, and I don't think it's going. I think it's the MySpace of blockchains, and so that left basically EOS and NEO as the only sort of viable ones. NEO provides very sophisticated utilities and primitives for developers. They tout themselves as the most developer-friendly blockchain, and absolutely, totally true from our experience. We were able to build an in-app wallet pretty quickly and pretty easily, only because we use NEO. Had we tried to do it on EOS or Ethereum, we would have had to create our own elliptical curve signing algorithms, and we would have had to dive down another layer in the utilities level of muck of technology we really just didn't want to as an app producer. So NEO made it easy. Second big reason is, if we had gone EOS, EOS requires that any new accounts created on the EOS blockchain cost between $1 and $4 per new account of EOS. So that means if we, Guardian Circle is meant to be very viral. If we suddenly get 1 million users overnight, that means we owe EOS between $1 and $4 million.
Nice.
Whereas in the NEO universe, that's 100% free. If we have 10 million users, that's free. If we have 100 million users, that's free. NEO loves it because we're recruiting new users to the EO blockchain. So they made the choice very simple for us.
So why did you decide to be a token instead of building your own blockchain?
Well,
is that in the future? You said before that you might put things on the blockchain. Would that be the NEO blockchain, or would that be like eventually your own blockchain?
We'd be putting it on the NEO blockchain. So, I mean, look, we thought about doing our own blockchain. That was in fact our original plan. But that means we have to run our own block producers. And we're not really decentralized at that point. So we don't get the strength. We also don't get the continuous development of cool new things from a group of people. Had we sort of rolled our own, our wallet would have again been exponentially harder to create. We originally were going to do a fork of Litecoin for Guard, and very quickly we realized that was just, we were creating a giant amount of work for ourselves, and we wanted to focus on the app, not the blockchain. We wanted the blockchain in there, but we didn't want to have to focus on the technology of the blockchain. So we want other people to keep developing that. Right now, we're going to benefit from NEO 3.0, which is going to come out early next year, and that's another order of magnitude. That'll be a generation 4 blockchain, and we don't have to do any work for that because we're on NEO. We just migrate up. So that it just makes our lives a lot easier. Plus, we're now in the NEO ecosystem. So in a week and a half, I'll be in Singapore, and NEO will be promoting us on stage as one of their 7 hot ecosystem projects that are prime examples of what you can do with Neo. And I wouldn't have that opportunity if we'd roll our own, right? So being part of one of these like little consortiums, yeah, it makes a big difference. And Neo's going out of their way to boost their ecosystem. I don't see really EOS doing that. Ethereum is doing it to a certain degree, but even that's not as healthy. So that's why.
Well, it's good to know, because I have yet to see very many real apps that are focused on, the app part, right? In crypto, everybody's like, the apps that are out there that seem to be getting any traction are basically gambling apps and crypto kitties. So it's nice to see an actual useful app out there that's leveraging a token for something, because so far there hasn't really been that many, I don't think, in the blockchain space that are actually focused on solving a problem, which is what you guys are doing. How are you funding this?
Well, we initially did we did a token sale. So that's the token sale is something we did in end of 2017. We started it. We finished it in mid 2018. No, sorry, yeah, it was mid 2018 is when it actually concluded, and we distributed tokens like in August or September of 2019. Sorry, 2018. So there was that, and that was a $3.5 million token sale. We spent, a great part of that money on the token sale because the accounting and the legal requirements are pretty stringent, and we're filled with all kinds of things that raising money through venture capital is not filled with, and that's taxable income. So we ended up spending like 1.2 million of that 3.5, and then the remaining 2.3 million kind of shrank down to 230K, right, with the crash of all the crypto markets, right? So,
right.
But the good news is that we were able to spend most of that 1.2 on development of Guardian Circle 3.0. So we had Guardian Circle 1.0 and Guardian Circle 2.0 several years previous to doing the token sale. So we had a pre-existing ecosystem and user base of about 10,000 users. So we weren't starting from scratch. We were starting with a pre-existing network. But the app was not nearly as good as I wanted it to be, and that we knew it could be. And we finally had the chance and the resources to build it correctly. So that's basically what Guardian Circle 3.0 was. So we're now here, and oddly we have a lot. That 250K has grown into about 450K, just because the market's gone back up, and we've spent very slowly with the rest of our resources. So our hope is obviously crypto keeps going back up, and I haven't taken a salary in like a year and a half, so so there's that. But my intent is to now fund it going forward. We just opened a convertible debt note for a little under $1 million, so we will be bringing some more money into the company here pretty soon to support the marketing of Guardian Circle 3.0, which we just launched, as I said, like a week ago.
Well, that's what I was going to get into next, is the marketing. I see, as a crypto project and someone who's been in this space for a couple of years now, is that most of these projects out there are either marketed very poorly or not marketed at all. And to me, I actually believe that's probably one of the main reasons crypto has not reached any kind of serious adoption with the normal people out there. What are you guys doing, or what is your plan to market and grow Guardian Circle?
So I'll start here. So very briefly on my past, I've done 2 projects that have grown to multiple millions of users in the first year. The first was a thing called the Palace, which grew to like 10 million users. It was an avatar chat thing in the 90s. The second one was a thing called ZeroDegrees, which was a business social network, competed with LinkedIn, started it in 2002, sold it in 2004, a little over 1 million users when LinkedIn had 2 million. We sold it to Barry Diller Interactive Corporation. So whole other story, which I won't tell here. But and the way we did it was in both cases is we made the product very viral. And Guardian Circle is designed to be likewise as viral, so that when you download it, you're very heavily motivated to use the in-app contact manager to easily add your friends, family, and neighbors, because you're doing it for mutual safety. And once you understand what how Guardian Circle works, it's better if more people are guardians with you, right? So we make it super easy for you to help us onboard people. and for your own, and you do it for your own benefit, but we also give you guard when you do. So you're making guard as you do it. You're rewarded. So our hope is that if we get a seed population of people, it can explode and it will just start going virally on its own. But we have to get that seed population of folks. So over the last year, I've built up a giant spreadsheet of about 300 people in groups that I am now just starting to work my way through. Any one of those 300 could be our explosive seed population. So one example, I'll give you one example and then I'll leave the rest. I don't want to talk about all of them, but one of them is a group called CEDR, C-E-D-R, otherwise known as the Cajun Navy. And you may have heard of these folks during the hurricanes in Houston, Texas, where people were trapped in their homes because of flooding, and using CB radios and citizen rescue boats, they were able to rescue people out of their houses that were sort of stuck there because they were flooded in. Later on, FEMA noticed this crowdsourced emergency response and engaged with CEDR on a more formal basis to see how they could, in the future, utilize citizen response like this. So the CEDR folks are very excited about what we've done because it enables them to overlay location sharing in sort of a more formal, something better than CB radio, right? As a way to organize these rescues. So I am in the process of engaging with them right now. And that's like about, there's about 10,000 citizens that are sort of loosely affiliated with that organization. So any one of these sort of groups of people could be, the seed population that causes the explosion. So, and just so you understand what I'm talking about, usually these viral things start with one seed population. So with Facebook, it was Mark Zuckerberg at Harvard. Harvard was the seed population, right? So you usually find some initial population with which it booms. With Airbnb, it was the presidential inauguration. The hotels had run out of rooms. So their sort of event that started everything off was people using Airbnb for the very first time to find lodging in homes. And they were motivated to do so because there was no other lodging anywhere else. So that's what I'm looking for right now.
Very cool. I think I might have a bunch of ideas for you too.
Love to hear. One last thing. Sorry, I want to add one last thing. So I've also brought on board 2 senior execs from Uber, each of whom have 5+ years experience launching multiple Uber products in multiple geographies. I brought them on because this is a very geographic centric product, which is new for me. I've done other things that are not geographic centric. So the characteristics of doing city launches and those sorts of things are stuff that's in there, that folk knowledge in their heads is very valuable to me. So they are now helping me craft those city launch type strategies. So there's that.
Well, maybe I should talk to him too.
Yeah.
But that's fascinating. I'm real excited about what you're doing, and you should be definitely coming out to Utah to our off-chain conference as well, because I think that's right up your alley. And just from a marketing standpoint, your seed populations are in Utah, probably.
I agree with you completely. Utah's been on my list for a very long time. I'm aware completely of that.
We are the most prepared population on the planet for like the apocalypse. Both, and it's just cultural here. I mean, it literally is cultural.
My girlfriend's from Idaho, so that's how I know about all this.
Yeah, it's
just very like Utah. Yeah.
Idaho and Nevada would be the next 2. It's just part of the church culture here, but everybody's prepared like that. So, but I think that kind of translates into people actively acquire skills and tools to help be prepared. So that might be things like ham radio licenses, it might be things like CERT training and CERT memberships and things of that nature. And I do think that this kind of app would do very well in this state to get it viral, just because it's so hardwired into the community here. So I definitely think it's interesting. And from someone who appreciates that, I'm interested too, but that's why you're on this show right now talking to me. So I think it's fascinating. And I think what you're doing is cool, and actually seeing something that to me is a good use of blockchain in an app, and even a decentralized app where it's, a token using a token on someone else's blockchain. To me, that is really exciting to me, because so much of crypto has been disappointing up until now, to be honest. Most of the stuff from the last 2 years is just not manifested. Most of the ICOs have failed. And so to see someone actually producing something that solves a problem is exciting. And I'm looking forward to seeing how you guys grow over time. And I do wish the best success for you. Mark, where can people find out more about Guardian Circle?
Just go to guardiancircle.com. All the information's there, and links to download it are there as well.
Thank you so much for coming on the show. I appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me, Rob.
Thank you for listening to the Rob McNealy program. Make sure you check us out on the web at robmcnealy.com and subscribe to our podcast at YouTube, iTunes, and on the Google Play Store.